My name is Darcy Lonergan. I am 22, but 23 in a few more weeks. I did a degree in politics in Maynooth. I also did a 1 year in San Francisco as part of the international program. And now I'm down at Queen's University doing a leadership for sustainable development. The reason I got into politics was, to be honest with you, I was looking through the course catalogue, when you're leaving cert year, and I wanted to be a lawyer. And I didn't, and I just kind of flipped through and I was like, the politics was close to that as well, so it's like, okay, it's a little bit more interesting, a little less, hopefully intensive, and that's how I got into it, the actual degree itself. And then in second year we had to do an internship, and I did it with the Mayor of Carrickmacross at that time, and through then I got to meet other politicians and I joined the Green Party and ran for local elections.
And how did that go? What kind of experience was that?
It was very interesting, seeing your face blown up and popped into your town. It was overwhelming. But it was interesting. Local politics is a lot easier than national politics because it is about the national issues and people know you. So it's not like you're going up to random people. Obviously sometimes you go up to random people's doors, but I live in a very small town, so a lot of people would know me, or they'd say I use so-and-so's daughter. So it wasn't too bad. People were very encouraging, but I actually didn't get elected. I got co-opted 2 years later, so that was the bad side, where people were like, oh yeah, youth, go for it, we'll vote for you. And obviously I thought I was going to get in, and the votes didn't transfer at all, so the people who said they were going to vote for me didn't necessarily vote for me, or they just didn't give me the number one, which is what I needed to get in. They gave it the 2 or 3s.
And a lot of young people are disillusioned by politics now, and we saw that with the referendum. There's quite a low turnout of young voters. How can we change this?
I think the main thing is that not thinking of politics as so wide as it is, like people only come out when it's the referendum. The closest thing that you're going to get in the place where you can really make a change is like your local and county, and then by joining maybe either groups like Amnesty International, environmental groups, or the youth organisation, because they do understand it's through those back kind of doors that you get in. And when it comes to the main thing, yes, I even myself get disillusioned, especially during that referendum. I was like, I don't know which way to vote, I'm not entirely sure if I want to vote and what. But in the end, the policies affect us, and it's just like, I necessarily don't want to write a 5,000 word essay, but you have to do it to get your grades. So you're just going to have to, unfortunately, we have to listen. And hopefully if there's enough of us out there, we can make a difference. I know how sad that sounds, but you can make a difference, and they will start. Like when we marched on those college fees, I think it made an impact, and I think if we just have more things like that, people will begin to listen.
And as your role on the council, did you ever get looked down on because you're a young person?
Yes, I did. I got co-opted. So the way co-option works is you become an item on the agenda. So when they all sat there, and for half an hour, because I wasn't allowed to speak because I technically was the item, I wasn't on the council yet, I got to sit at the back of the classroom, at the back of the chair. It was like a classroom, and each and every, most of them went around and said why I shouldn't be on the council. I was too young, I wasn't experienced enough, and I kind of thought it was funny because you hear these politicians all the time saying, hey, bring more youth in, but it's like, they just say it, they don't actually mean it. It's the same with those jobs. I mean, you have your degree. I did everything I possibly could. I got my degree, I got an international degree, I'm doing a master's. Even now if I go for a job, they're like, no, you need 5 years experience. You're like, no one's giving it to me. You said you want youth, bring it in. So it's the same in politics. And the worst thing was, we had 2 councils on the council at the time. One was 19, I think, when he was elected, one was 21. So I thought, well, the youth were elected, you say why? Because maybe you're men, that you're better than me. So yeah, definitely. And I've gone into various meetings where people may not necessarily know my councillor, if it's like the county or town. And I remember one time I was sitting in a meeting, and I did take 1 or 2 notes, because I do take notes because I'm still getting used to the process. And one guy just turned around and said, you're not so good at being a secretary. I said, I'm not a secretary, I'm a councillor, and then you go into other meetings and you get sexist kind of comments, and you get it. It's when they continue to do it and continue to use it against you, when I think I've proven myself enough. It's like, well, what more do you possibly want us as youth to do? We've done everything you told us to do.
Yeah, so does that mean that you have to work extra hard to make sure?
You do. You have to work extra hard, and then there's the fine line between the way they want you to act. Like even like the way I dress now. Am I supposed to dress the way to look older? Am I supposed to dress the way I'm youth? And then you have it, if I say this thing to get through to maybe the older generation, is the younger generation going to go, what is she on about? You know, none of us are. So it's a very, it's weird things that you kind of have to adjust. It's not really so much what I do, it's kind of what I say and how I dress and different things like that, and you're going to get it all the time, but I think the majority of the time people are like, yeah, go for it, yeah, why not? So it's encouraging. Obviously you tend to listen to the negative comments slightly more, but...
What are the main issues you'd like to focus on during your term as mayor?
Well, I'm from a small rural community, and obviously the mayor's powers is not as extensive as some people think. Obviously at a national level I've managed to get some national press. It's to get more youth involved. But on my local level, public transport is terrible. And local transport stops at like 6 o'clock in the evening, and I don't want to, and our cinema is like a half an hour away, and I don't want to have to go around, hey mommy and daddy at 22 years of age, can you drive me to the cinema? Or have, you know, always having to rely on your friends to drive you places. So that was a big thing for me, and I think even for youth, because there's nothing to do, and people always give out, oh, the youth only drink and that's all they do. It's like, because there's nothing else for us to do in a small community. If you give them bowling or something, I'm pretty sure youth would have no problem going and doing those type of things. That's one. Obviously Green Party, myself and my colleague is a Lithuanian, so I kind of want to bridge the gap because there seems to be a big separation within the town on that. Yeah, kind of bridging that gap and just bringing better open communication. I called it gossiping, but in the nice sense, in the traditional sense, it was actually, in medieval Ireland it's known as like building up a sense of community. Well, you know the old Ireland, if you hear your parents say, oh, you know so-and-so, is she related to so-and-so? But that, when it comes to like community stuff, so did you know there's a game on here, or did you know that event is on there? That type of communication, just to get people start talking and getting to know each other a bit more.
What are your plans for the future? Do you intend to stay involved in politics?
Yes, in some way, shape or form. I don't know if I will be a TD or if I will go on for county or town. I have no idea. To be honest, it probably depend on how this year is going. Now kind of people tend to be slightly nicer to me, but I'm sure once I get older people are going to expect different things. I kind of love the green and environmental side to it, so I'd love to maybe work in a department or work for an NGO, or even work for like a business like that does rain restoration or wind farming.
You know, social media and stuff.
Yes.
And as a young person who's been around since social media's been around, you were probably like 18 and like there were probably, you know, photos and stuff, you know, that mightn't be, you know, you wouldn't associate with a politician, I suppose, or someone in the political eye. Has that kind of been something you've had to deal with? I
have been extremely lucky to the point that I am the worst politician ever. I hate photographs. You cannot get, like that photograph that went out about me, I was nearly in, like I cried when my dad's photos were taken of me. I hate them. I had like buck teeth when I was younger, so I don't know how to smile properly, and people always are like, you're the most awkward smiler ever. So I never had photos like that up. Now I did do a course and I've seen other politicians, there's a few 20-year-olds, and I've known they've gotten in trouble and they've got stuff. I do make sure the rare occasion if I am tagged, I untag me straight away, or I Facebook someone and say, look, you can't, no, you can't. My main thing is saying stuff on Facebook now. I'm pretty good, and I've noticed it more this week when I become mayor. It's like, oh, should I say that? Or, you know, if you're doing this Facebook chat, it's like, okay, can they actually, is it really secret, is it not? Stuff like that I think, and I think people in my generation have no problem with. It's just a bit of back and forth mess and, you know, taking the piss out of each other. But if someone else caught wind of it, you might get in trouble. So it's a fine line of like, when can you just know that I'm just messing? Obviously I don't mean it for serious, but if it did get out there, it could turn into a huge thing. So that is a big problem, to be honest with you.